with our first webinar of 2026. I'm Josh Ellett from PPAI Media. Glad to have you along with us. We'll be talking about the PPAI 100 Playbook, how to make the most out of the list, earn your highest score that you deserve. That is the goal of the program, measure everybody appropriately. So some good best practices for you as we get into the 2026 measurement from PPAI 100. Is the fourth year that we've done this list. Very exciting to get rolling on it. It's been a big hit with members. Going to be joined in a little bit by a couple of guests. We're going to give just a few more minutes for people to trickle in as we get started, and I'll introduce everybody. Thanks for coming along today. We've got, let's see, at least 8 webinars planned in 2026 on topics ranging from sustainability to legislative issues and maybe some more as different things develop throughout the year. But come back and join us for the next one in March on a sustainability topic to be announced later. But you'll have the chance to earn CEUs towards your CAS or MAS as we integrate PPAI Media in these webinars with the PPAI Advanced platform. So good opportunity for you there. All right, we think everybody is along now. So let me introduce our guest today. We've got Drew Holmgreen, CAS, President and CEO of PPAI, man who needs no introduction. And I am joined by Alok Bhatt. He is our market economist and the research and public affairs lead here at PPAI, plays a crucial role in the organization of the list, getting it just right every year. As I mentioned, I am Josh Ellis, publisher and editor-in-chief of PPAI Media, and we produce the content around PPAI 100. In the webinar today, we're going to be talking about changes upcoming to the program for 26 and 27. It's been an evolving process year over year as we work to perfect it and keep it in step with PPAI's goals for the association as we work to serve your businesses. We'll talk about what you can do to earn the best score that you deserve and answer some of your questions along the way. So please get those in. There's a chat right down below the window that you're seeing on your screen at ppai.org. Hope you'll feed us your questions, and we'll spend about 10 minutes at the end answering those. So, yes, never too early to get those in. Please do. So, with that said, I will turn it over to Drew for a bit.
Thank you so much, Josh. Excited to have everybody on the webinar today, and greetings from sunny yet still chilly Florida. Ponte Vedra, I can't remember the name of the city, or something like that. I'm here on site with Danny Rosen, who's the chair of the PPAI board, and we're actually doing a little continuing education through our partners at ASAE, all about governance and making sure that we're doing the right things for this association, and indeed proving on our point as your organization that members are our mission at PPAI. And we like to reinforce that quite a bit because you are the why behind everything that we do, decisions that we make, investments that we make. At the end of the day, what makes PPAI extremely different, unique, and important is that we are your association. It is our mission and our drive to ensure that everything we do is for the benefit of our membership, our community, and our industry. That includes key investments, that includes key technologies, and that certainly includes Expo, and it includes the PPAI 100. These are all resources that we strategically create to ensure that we are advancing the industry. And one of those core differentiators is that, and I think many of you know this, I think it's always good to reinforce, is that PPAI is a not-for-profit. So every nickel that's invested, nickel because we don't have pennies anymore, every nickel that's invested in PPAI goes immediately back to you, back to our membership. We use those cash resources, we use those financial resources to ensure member engagement and value, and push forward in everything that's necessary to create value. And that includes programs like our events portfolio, our education. Josh mentioned a second ago that I am now Drew Holmgreen CAS. I'm really excited about that CAS. I just achieved that at the end of the year, and it's a great benefit that we offer in terms of providing education and certainly advocacy as well. This past year in 2025 was a significant one for PPAI because we spent our time developing out our strategic plan. And what you see here is our 5 year strat plan that works to, at the end of the day, make good on our vision of elevating merch and repositioning it as a marketing channel. Um, this came through a lot of input. We talked about this quite a bit during a town hall at Expo. In any conversation, any and every conversation that I get the fortunate opportunity to have with our members, I really try and play up our purpose and why the strategic plan was drafted. This is done every 5 years for PPAI, and fortunately, 2025 was one of those planning years. At the end of the day, we ended up recrafting this strategic plan based on where it was 5 years ago, and it really, we use this pyramid structure because there's a foundation at the bottom that drives all the way to the top and what we seek to accomplish. And I'm going to highlight two quick points of this, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Josh. The At the very high level, from a vision perspective, we reimagine this, and we use the terminology now very intentionally around branded merchandise. So branded merchandise, our vision is that branded merch is the premier marketing channel that powers lasting connections. So that's our vision, that's our aspiration, and what we want to achieve over the course of the next 5 years. And how the vision mission relationship works, that mission is how you accomplish the vision. So our mission is to elevate the industry by strengthening our community, advocating for our members, and providing them the tools to grow and succeed. Now, that first sentence there, that first phrase there in particular, elevate the industry, that's very core to some of the conversation that Josh is going to get into in a little bit here as it relates to PPI 100. At the end of the day, when this was constructed, it also was founded on one of the core tenets of what PPAI does, and that's listen to you as our members. We always want to make sure that we are taking your feedback into consideration to ensure that what we are doing, our mission, our vision, our voice and force is indeed advancing the industry. And so Josh is going to walk through the qualifications today, and there's going to be some changes that are based on feedback that you provided, and also changes based on this strategic direction. So again, excited to have you all as part of this webinar today. Please, as was mentioned a second ago, stay with us this year. There's a lot of great content we're going to continue to keep pushing out there. We want you as part of the journey, because at the end of the day, your journey is our mission. So, Josh, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. So we are heading into, as I mentioned earlier, the 4th year of PPAI 100. It started back in 2023, and the goal from the very beginning was to elevate the industry, advance the industry by identifying companies that were living the PPAI mission. And at the time, we had a real focus on innovation, digital transformation, responsibility. Some of these things are still very key to everything that we're doing every day. But the goal, as the mission and the strategies of PPAI on behalf of the industry progressed, was for the list to evolve too. And so now that we move into a brand new strategic plan, really highlighting the opportunity to elevate the industry, and that leads some of the changes that we'll talk about in just a little bit. A lot of the program is very much the same from what you remember from past years, the same 3 surveys. We'll talk about those in a little bit. But the opportunity to elevate the industry, it's something that falls on all of us in branded merchandise to create the rising tide that lifts all boats. And so we'll see some of the ways that that's going to be identified by the program in 2026 and 27 and beyond. But PPI 100 is an important tool for the association to not only identify those leaders, but to create the opportunity for companies of all sizes to recognize how they measure up, what they can emulate to behave and lead on the same way that some of the largest and most successful companies in the industry do from the very top of the list. And so keep that in mind. Also bear in mind that the data that's collected through PPI 100, we use it in aggregated fashion to create benchmarking reports that can serve your goals in business or in sustainability and responsibility or in technology, and also to advocate on the industry's behalf. When we go to lead in Washington, D.C., oftentimes we're sharing data that comes straight from the PPI 100. A lot of the research that you see coming out from Alok and his team is created through this PPI 100 process. And so really it's a year-round program. The list comes out once a year, but it's a year-round program that continues to create value for members. And that's why it's such an important part of what we do. Mr. Drew, thank you so much for joining us, talking through the strategic plan. A lot of work went into it, and we're really excited to execute it in 26 and beyond.
Thank you. Enjoy it. See you guys.
All right. It is about time for Alok and I to get into things. The first thing I want to do, though, we're going to spend 45 minutes or an hour here today talking about PPI 100. But if you want to go deeper to understand the origins of the list, how it's created, where it came from, why we did it, some of the other tips that maybe we won't have time for today, to help you maximize your score, there is a full-on podcast, 7 episodes, I believe, that we released back in the spring of 2025, that is every bit as useful today as it was then. Interviews with the likes of Jeremy Lott, the CEO of Sanmar, and our current chair, Danny Rosen of Brand Fuel, and Mandy Clay, CEO of Walker Clay. You know, quite a few leaders in the industry who can talk through not only how they succeed through PPI 100, but how they lead in various aspects through their company. So some insights for you to help you make the most of your promotional products business. You can, if you don't have your phone out ready to scan that QR code right now, you can always visit ppai.org/podcast and listen to season 1 of Voice and Force. So yes, we are talking about the PPAI 100 playbook. Just very excited to get into it today, and with that, I will welcome in the voice of Alok Bhatt.
Thanks, Josh. This is where I really enjoy the conversation because it's about helping companies succeed, not just explaining the list. The PPI 100 was never designed to be something that you apply and forget. Uh, it's designed to be something that you participate in. Every year, we see companies doing meaningful work, investing in their people, improving systems, innovating for customers, but the work doesn't always show up clearly in the measurement. So what we are moving into is the best practices, practical guidance on how to approach PPI 100 in a way that it's thoughtful, honest, and strategic. We'll be covering few things today. Tips that help your performance be reflected accurately, key deadlines so nothing catches you off guard, and a few changes that to be aware as we look forward towards 2026 and 2027. I want to stress this upfront that this is not about optimizing a score. This is about clarity, completeness, and consistency. If your company is leading in the right way, our responsibility is to make sure that the framework can actually see it. With that lens, let's get into the practical side. Over to you, Josh.
Thank you, Alok. So we've got 26 tips, suggestions, best practices identified in this presentation, 26 for 2026. And I will start going through them. But it begins with revenue and growth. You'll see from the list every year that some of the largest companies in the industry do tend to make it toward the top of the list. It's not a straight 1 to 100 by revenue. Our other factors do come into play. But revenue is indeed the largest factor in the scoring. So keep that in mind. It's reason that when you take the surveys that we'll talk about momentarily, it's very important to submit your previous year's actual revenue, and if possible, back it up with validating documents. One of the processes that we went through when we were developing PPI 100 was how to make sure that the revenue figures that were listed and accounted for were trustworthy. And so the submitting those validating documents applies a scoring bonus to uh, what you what you earn for the revenue category. And if you don't take the survey to list your revenue, PPAI will, based on data available to us, estimate revenue for you in 2025. Not responding to that estimate with confirmation or adjustments will earn a scoring penalty. We want the data for revenue as the biggest scoring factor to be as accurate as possible, and to allow us to score companies of all sizes, from the largest in the industry, Sanmar you see here, uh, to some companies of less than $10 million that have made the list, as small as 2.5 million, I believe, in revenue on the supplier side last year. To make sure that their full impact is felt, not just from revenue, of course, but for some of the other good things they're doing that represent the industry well and represent leadership in promotional products. If you can provide those validating documents, we'll take everything from tax forms to a signed statement from your CPA, or head of accounting, that has been used before. Also recognize that one of the causes of variability from year to year is the growth category in PPAI 100. It's scored a couple of different ways. It is both as a full dollar amount of how much your company's revenue has changed over the last 3 years, and as a percentage amount. And so the percentage naturally is going to, for different companies of different sizes, is going to create some variability, but the intention is to identify the trajectory, ideally for all of us, growth trajectory that our companies are on, so that we can see the companies that are really starting to snowball and sell more promotional products as we all work to elevate the industry. So another factor to continue to keep in mind is that your company's revenue, again, the biggest scoring factor, needs to be commensurate with your PPAI membership. This is another way that we validate the revenue that companies are turning in, is that our membership structure, which you can see at ppai.org/join, provides greater share of benefits based on companies' needs. So the largest companies, platinum level, gold level, and professional silver level, there are recommended revenue ranges for those tiers, from up to 10 million for silver, up to 50 million for gold, and larger for the professional platinum companies. Those are all included if in your revenue factoring, to make sure that we're able to score and list your revenue as accurately as possible, again, based on data available to us. M&A activity, something to keep in mind. A company that you purchased within the last 3 years should be accounted for your current revenue, but you should only turn in, for this year, turn in 2022 revenue. It should not include companies that were acquired since 2022. Only the 2022, only your business as it was in 2022 should be included in that listing. So revenue and growth, part of the business fundamentals survey that you'll have access to, definitely the most important part of the process. Hello?
Yes, this slide highlights what I see as the most commonly missed opportunities in the entire PPI 100 process, the surveys and reporting. If there is one place where strong companies leave value on the table, it's here. Not because they are not doing anything wrong, but because their work isn't always captured clearly. I want to say this upfront to everyone. You can relax a bit. The PPI 100 survey is not an exam, it's not a trick, it's not designed to catch anyone out. Think of it as a structured way for your company to tell a story, how you are growing, how you are investing in people, and how you are innovating, or how you are operating responsibly. What usually goes wrong is a very simple survey open very late, like 2 days before the deadline, or one person tries to answer everything, or team assumes certain things are obvious and don't need to be written down. But the framework can always measure what's clearly shared. So let me share a few practical tips that really makes a difference. First, take every survey. This is a number one reason the company lose points, not because their performance is weak, but because they don't fully participate. Second, review the survey before they open. For 2026, the surveys will be available for preview on February 3rd, which is next week. The window exists so that you all can prepare instead of scrambling up later. Third, make sure you receive PPI emails, survey reminders, clarification, and support all come through those communications. Fourth, assign sections right to the right people. Like finance should be handled by a revenue and growth, or the operations with the right people, or the CIO handling the tech, and this improves the accuracy and prevents the gap. Fifth, track every key metrics year round. Companies that do this well aren't rushing in February. For them, the survey is just a check-in, not an rebuild. Now, this part is very important. Not a single question will dramatically affect your score. The PPI and 100 weighs many inputs. No company's performance hinges on one response. Answer best you can. If something isn't perfect yet, share where you are. Disclosure matters than perfection. When the companies approach the survey this way, the PPI 100 becomes more than a list. It becomes a mirror and often help guide for what to focus on next. Over to you, Josh.
Okay, this is the part where we will really start to get into what's changing for 2026 and 2027. First thing I'll mention here is the importance of the industry faith category, which beyond revenue and growth is the third largest scoring factor historically from PPI 100, and it'll remain that way. For distributors, it's very important to keep your PPAI credit profile active. That's powered by Forius. It's based, of course, on your readiness to pay in dealings with your supplier business partners. And for suppliers, it's important to maintain a current SAGE rating, allowing your distributor business partners to keep faith on how successfully your company meets its obligations in business. So that remains a key scoring factor. In 2026, a small part of the industry faith category will include some changes, some additional factors, and in 2027 we'll talk about how that becomes an even bigger factor. But for 2026, we're going to take into account what we call industry elevation. At the beginning of the webinar here, we talked about elevating the industry as PPAI's mission. And we all have a role at PPAI and at companies around the industry to create that rising tide, right? So for 2026, your efforts to elevate the branded merchandise marketplace will count as a partial factor for the industry faith category. That includes volunteer roles for both PPAI committee participation and regionals. Small but measurable contribution to your company's score, as well as nominations in the past for pyramid awards. The reasoning here is when your personnel are volunteering for groups such as our committees at PPAI or your regional, you're actively working to improve the industry, elevate it. And the same for pyramid awards, based on the fact that you're creating the types of merchandise that gets kept and used and that clients of all kinds really treasure. In 2027, as I said, these will shift. In conjunction with that updated strategic plan, industry elevation efforts will be become their own category. It's going to fully replace what has been known as the online presence category. Historically, that category has been scored based on page views of each member's homepage. As this has been a work in progress program through 4 years, it makes sense to move that category, to retire that category. Frankly, for some members who do a lot of retail business or have efforts that are outside of the promotional products marketplace, their homepage was capturing a lot of traffic that was not related to the business that you do in this industry, in this medium, and that's really what PPAI is here to serve, is your business in this medium. So online presence in 2027 will go away. It's not the most important scoring factor by any means, but in 27, that involvement in committees for PPAI, your regional associations, and score and participation in the Pyramid Awards program for both suppliers and distributors will take over as the industry elevation category. Excited to begin factoring those. It's not intended by any stretch to count one Pyramid Award win. We're not judging, taking a second judgment of Pyramid Award nominations. It's just a matter of whether you nominate or whether you're creating branded merchandise that you felt was worthy of being judged. So many of you out there, of course, are doing that. It's more than just taking orders and fulfilling orders. It's about creating quality crafted products, and that's what we want to make sure that we can evaluate. Volunteer efforts for the current year, another important part of this that I should mention, it's the current year that will be counted. So if you had a member of your staff who was on a PPAI committee or a regional board in 2025 that rolled off at the end of the year, that will not count. It is current activity for those volunteer efforts. Alok?
Yes, the next category is workforce strength and employee happiness. And I want to start by clearing up a common misunderstanding here. This is not about being a perfect employer. This is about being thoughtful and a sustainable one. We all know in last few years have been tough on teams. Hiring has been hard, retention has been hard, and every company has felt this one way or the other. So when we look at employee happiness, we are not asking whether everything is ideal. We are asking whether the company understands what's happening with its people and being intentional about it. So one of the input here is employee turnover. Employee turnover matters, but not because employee turnover is always bad, because unmanaged turnover tells a story. So if your turnover isn't where you want it to be, that that does not disqualify you. What matters is honesty. This category is not designed to punish transparency. In fact, reporting honesty always works in the company's favor over time. Another important part of this category is professional development, and this is measured, not assumed. Many companies invest deeply in training, mentoring, and growing their people, but if if that work isn't clearly shared, the framework can't see it. So if you're supporting your teams through learning, certification, leadership development, or any clear path, growth path, make sure that it shows up. Earning spot on workplace or culture list can help here, but they are not required. They add context, but they are not the core. At the end, the companies that do well in this category are not saying everything is perfect. They are saying, like, we care about people, we measure what matters, and we're, working together. So gets together. So what do you, Josh?
Those workplace culture lists Alok mentions include PPAI's Greatest Companies to Work For program, which for 2026 will open for nominations in April. But it also includes your local lists. So for some of our members, it's more important that they are represented as a strong employer in their community, Minnesota or Idaho or wherever you may be, and less important that you're seen as in that way from an industry-wide scale, because you're going to be recruiting from your local region. And so PPAI's greatest companies to work for list does not, is not a higher scoring factor than some of those regional lists. If this is a practice that's you're already engaging in, your company's HR team is working to create the culture that gets recognized in that way, then please do submit those. We need you, as this is part of the business fundamentals survey, we need you to list them for us. If you've made those sorts of, if you've earned those sorts of honors in the past. So please do keep track of them. Another one where seeing the surveys ahead of time when they're released on February 3rd can help you anticipate the need to keep track of those. So in professional development, as Alok was getting at, we award points to CAS, MAS, and MAS Plus accreditations as part of your team. As you get high, as you become one of those professional PPAI members, whether it's silver, gold, or platinum, part of the benefit is an increased credit that is part of the dues that you pay. So you're already in as part of your dues, you're already paying for your employees to take some of these courses toward those credits. So make sure you're taking advantage of them. Finally, among our tips here, and Alok is going to cover the key dates for 2026 in just a moment, but we'll talk about responsibility and innovation. So along with the business fundamentals survey, we have surveys launching for responsibility and innovation. Same 3 surveys that you've known for the last 3 years as part of the program, but with a new look. We developed these in tandem with our committees. So volunteers make tweaks from year to year based on the state of the industry. What does responsibility and sustainability look like in promotional products in 2026? It's come a little bit of ways compared to 2022 when we launched the program. The same for digital transformation. PPAI has a responsibility committee that advises on that survey, and a digital transformation committee, of course, that advises on the innovation survey. And so in that way, this is really a member-led process. One thing that I would point out for both of these surveys, there are questions that we ask that include whether you've obtained third-party certifications. For responsibility, that might include EcoVadis, which has been very popular among a lot of members. Same thing with B Corp. And then on the innovation side, different security disclosures that you can provide that will allow you to kind of pass go and collect your $200 on a significant part of the scoring for these surveys. So keep that in mind. Another good reason to make sure that if you're able to, one of the leaders in those subject matters is able to take these particular surveys. They're going to know things that you as the executive may not have top of mind, or at least without asking. So it makes sense there to divvy up the surveys. Again, as Alok has hinted at in a couple of different points, disclosure and honesty, not perfection, is really what's important here. The scoring model can only award points based on the information that you provide. So documenting your initiatives clearly ensures that the system recognizes them. You may be offered the opportunity to provide contextual answers in some places for these 2 surveys that will allow you partial credit. So offer as much information as you can in those spots. Even if you don't fit what you think the survey is asking for perfectly, you can still earn some credit. Innovation, of course, it's centered on the customer experience. It's long been a gripe in this industry that it's not easy to order promotional products. And that's something that suppliers and distributors both have taken steps to improve and over the years. to try and make that ordering experience as seamless as possible and as trustworthy as possible. And that's really what digital transformation in promo has been all about, is creating sort of the Amazon customer experience that so many of us are used to when we buy retail or unbranded products. Shorter surveys, going back to Drew mentioned at the beginning how we've taken feedback over the years to try and improve this process for everyone. It continues to be a request from people that the surveys should not take as much of your time as they had in the past, and so we tasked the responsibility committee and the digital transformation committee this year to try and streamline those as much as possible, especially if you have seen the surveys ahead of time. Again, they'll be released for you to view on February 3rd. You'll have 3 weeks basically to prepare to take the surveys before they even actually open. And so it's a great chance to get all of your ducks in a row, gather all the information that you may need, share with people internally who can get you some of those answers if you don't know them directly, and make it as fast of a process as possible. If you do that, really the surveys should take 5 to 10 minutes and you're on with your day. But they are all shorter this year, fewer questions. There are some questions that are not related to scoring, but are more benchmarking for the industry, your benefit, your colleagues' benefit, that come after the scoring questions. Those will continue to be asked, but there's a point in each survey where we'll tell you, thank you for taking the survey. Everything after this is not related to scoring. If you're short on time, feel free to, of course, move on at that point, but know that it's for the industry's good. It's for that, creates that rising tide if you're able to share data. Bear in mind, of course, that apart from the revenue and the growth factors, any individual data point that you're sharing with us as part of PPAI 100 is confidential. So the if you're sharing your turnover rate with us, for instance, which is important to do for the scoring, we don't publish it anywhere. It is an accounting factor for us, but not something that you have to worry about getting out into the industry. We pledge complete and total data security. The information that you're sharing along those lines is only seen by our research team. PPAI 100 is it's a measurement framework to identify leadership in the industry and promote leadership in the industry from companies of all sizes. It's not a moral judgment. It's not a contest. Of course, there can only be one company ranked number one on the supplier side and one company ranked number one on the distributor side. But if you think about it, there's 30,000 plus companies in this industry. Being named as one of the 100 leaders, no matter where you may rank on the list, is an extremely impressive accomplishment. So we've seen companies that, when they go to market with the news that they made the list, they don't necessarily share what number they earned, just that they were on the list. And for your clients, when you go to pitch, your company, it's quite a badge of honor to be able to say that you're PPAI 100 and all that implies, because it is such a holistic measurement of leadership, not just sales and revenue, but also so many other factors, from the way you treat your employees and their longevity with you, and the way that they're educated in the industry to become the most knowledgeable that they can be, to your sustainability and corporate responsibility practices and technology and so many other measures, including, as we said, for 2026, and then in a bigger way in 2027, how you work to elevate the industry itself. Really excited to introduce those measurements and continue improving this list with your feedback and as part of our strategic plan to serve the industry as a whole. So those are the best practices for this year to keep in mind, and I will let Alok talk through some of the key dates coming up.
Let me close this section by walking you through the key dates for 2026, because clarity here really helps everyone plan with confidence. Nothing in this process is meant to surprise you. The timeline is intentional and predictable. On Feb 3rd, the survey opens and will be available for preview. I strongly encourage you all to use this window because it's your chance to understand what's coming, gather information and decide who on your team should handle which sections. On again, it's Feb 3rd next week for preview. On Feb 23rd, the survey opens, survey officially opens. And then they'll remain open through March 8th, which means March 8th, the survey is going to close. This gives you more than 2 weeks, which is plenty of time if you have previewed and planned ahead. By April 1, PPI 100 companies will be notified. This allows companies to prepare internally before anything is shared, publicly. From May 12th to May 14th at NALC San Diego, uh, uh, the PPI 100 list will be previewed with attendees. This is always a meaningful moment because it brings industry leaders together to celebrate and learn. On May 19th, the PPI 100 suppliers will be announced through Newslink. On May 26th, PPI 100 distributor will be announced. In June, you will see the full coverage of PPI coverage in the PPI magazine, not just the list, the stories and insights behind it. And the value continues throughout the year. In July, we will publish the growth benchmark, in September, innovation benchmark, and in October, responsibility benchmark. So the PPI 100 is not a single moment in time, it's a year-long framework designed to highlight leadership, track progress, and help the industry learn from itself. If you keep these dates in mind and plan little ahead, the process becomes straightforward. Over to you, Josh.
Thanks, Alok. Yeah, those benchmarking reports there toward the latter half of the calendar are for me part of the most exciting aspects of PPI 100 in general, because it provides direction and competitor analysis for companies of every size. It's not just about those that are making $500 million and up. It's about companies making doing less than $1 million in revenue. This is an industry that is supported by 98% small businesses, and for many of you listening, that includes you. You may not be a professional member. You may not be vying actually for a spot on the PPI 100 itself, but you could benefit from the data that's collected, aggregated, and shared as part of this program. So Alok mentioned our North American Leadership Conference, May the 12th through 14th in San Diego. This has become the venue where PPI 100 is unveiled every year. You can learn more about NALC by scanning that QR code right now. I'll leave it up for just a little bit. Or always visit ppai.org/events. Registrations are not currently open, but you can sign up to have to be notified when registration does open. We always have an incredible crowd of industry leaders at NALC, and looking forward to seeing so many of you there again this year. San Diego is not a bad spot either, and I say that as somebody along with Alok and Drew living here in North Texas, where we've enjoyed a week of icy winter storms. So San Diego sounds pretty good right about now, and look forward to seeing you there. The hotel for this year is the U.S. Grant, which is a really historical venue in the in American hospitality. So excited to see what the team puts on there. The PPI 100 unveiling is one of the most exciting parts of NALC, and we'll join you there and celebrate your company's leadership. So there is still time to get some questions in, I should say. We've got a few comments that have come in already, and we'll start getting to those. First one's from Rakesh in Lexington. Both of you saying great to see you and thanks for doing this. Appreciate everybody for being here and being a part of this. It's a project that PPAI Media and our research team led by Alok put a lot of thought and time and devotion into to getting it right. the goal of the program every year is to get it as accurate as possible, and there are a lot of steps to it to make sure that we get it as just get everything right. That's our goal, is to recognize companies as they deserve to be recognized, and reward the leaders, and create that opportunity for everyone to learn from those leaders and grow themselves so that we can elevate the industry together. Okay, I will start taking questions. This one's from Frank Carpenito. Hi, Frank, I know you. Frank says, last year there were 12 companies that reported different revenue numbers to ASI and PPAI, and in some cases the numbers were significantly different / inflated. How do you intend to police that? So ASI's process, a little bit different from ours. They have the benefit of releasing their list later in the year. As you know, their counselor top 40 is released every year in, I believe, July. Recognized in the industry for a long time, and they obviously have an excellent team. Our numbers, which begin being gathered in February for every company, are not the same. In some cases, because maybe you're still closing your books for 2025, and they're more finalized in 2026. In some cases, because we're both making estimates, right? And using the best information that we have to go on. That is really, Frank, the purpose why we brought in the bonus element for providing validating documents. Revenue is one factor on PPAI 100. It is the largest, but the score differential between providing validation for your revenue and not providing any is significant. It's significant enough to really bolster your spot on the list and secure it. For companies that just let us go on the information available to us and estimate, again, making our best guess based on the data that we have, but they don't offer anything in response to it, they get a penalty. That's the mechanism that we have in place to try and reward the companies that really live through the spirit of the program, and penalize those who don't have as much to offer from a validation standpoint. We want it to be as credible as possible. We'll never be in a position, and I don't think ASI will either, where we have forensic accountants in every single one of our members' offices. That's just not realistic. We do the best that we can. It's an important part of the process, and one that we spend a lot of time on. While I wait for any other questions to come in, and we have a few more. Alok, do you think are there any other tidbits that came to your mind that we didn't mention as part of the webinar?
No, I think the key thing that I did mention is about the communication. Keep track on the communication that comes in. Ensure that you go through it. If you have any questions, you can always route it to me, Josh, or anyone from our team will help you in answering those.
Yep. So if you're not already getting emails from PPAI, whether it's NewsLink, which we sent this morning, or marketing emails that alert you when Expo registration or NALC registration, if you're not getting those emails, there's a good chance that you won't get the notification emails when PPAI 100 surveys open, or other important emails from us as part of the process. It's really important that you get those. So the surveys are sent for professional companies, for every member, to the primary contact listed as part of your PPAI account. That person really designated to handle it from there on your company's behalf. And if they're, for whatever reason, PPAI has been in the past, marked as spam or blacklisted by your IT team, or some of those emails just haven't been opened in a while, then it's possible you may miss them. So I want to make sure, as Alok said, that everybody gets the fair notice to participate as fully as possible. and we'll make one more scan for questions. This is from Lexington. How can I make sure I'm getting those emails? If you are not already, you can always shoot us an email. I am Josh E at ppai.org. Alok is Alok B at ppai.org. We're happy to work with you on a one-to-one basis to make sure that you are set up. You can also, on ppai.org, there are numerous spots on the website, including the PPAI media stream feed where you're able to subscribe to Newslink, and that gets you, in the past, if you've suffered some lack of accessibility, that gets you back on our email lists. Okay, been a lot to go through. It's as we said a couple times, it's a big project. It's a project that Alok and his team put a lot of time into. Myself and annually the planning and the execution and the editorial team and creating the content that comes from PPI 100. A lot of time and effort and double checking, fact checking to get it as right as possible goes into. We recognize the importance of it in terms of how your company may market itself, or your competitors may market against you based on the list. And so it's really important to us to get it right. That is our goal all the time, every year. We've made improvements to it year by year to try and really serve the spirit of it, to identify industry leadership. Always open, of course, for collaboration to how we can continue to do that and really serve that PPAI mission to elevate the industry. That is what this is about. That's what I know that all of you are about in your businesses, and we want to grow together. So thanks for being a part of PPI 100. Thanks for following along with the webinar. Watch out for those surveys next week. They'll be in Newslink on Tuesday, or you can find them on ppai.org/media. Thanks for following along.